As the election draws closer, anxiety levels are rising for some. Messages from political candidates, messages from friends about said political candidates, or what we find on social media. Many of us are experiencing what's being called election stress disorder. It is an actual thing. And the man who coined that phrase during the 2016 election joins us, Dr. Stephen Stosny. He's the founder of Compassion Power. Welcome, Dr. Stosny. It's so great to see you this morning, but I wonder if you could start off why this particular election seems to be producing so much anxiety.
Well, there's a backdrop of the virus and the social justice confrontations that are raising the anxiety. So you have to factor that in. But this is the most hostile election in my lifetime. And I go back to Nixon and Kennedy, where they just don't express opinions. They devalue the other side while they're expressing their opinions. And negative emotions, the reason you get so much of it is they're highly contagious. They're more contagious than any known virus. If you're around a resentful, angry, or anxious person, you're going to take that on. And to remember a positive event or a positive statement, I have to be roughly in a 5-to-1 ratio of negatives. So if it's more than 5, it has to be more than 5 positive things for you to remember the positive.
Well, I have to tell you,
of course, we're getting a lot more negative than
Dr.
positive.
Stosny, it's interesting that you mentioned the backdrop, right? There's so much going on besides the fact that Election Day is on November 3rd. But I often find, even within my own friends and family, that you find it's very polarizing. Friends are at odds. What's the best way to handle ourselves when we're out to lunch or we're at a dinner and we disagree? I mean, I've seen people go from 0 to 1,000 in 2 seconds flat. I try to diffuse everything with humor. That backfired the last time I tried. So what is your suggestion?
Yeah, you have to be careful with humor because it can come off as sarcastic or people can interpret it that way. The number one thing is to be respectful. People get angry not at disagreement, but at feeling devalued by the disagreement. And focus on deeper values, things like compassion, basic humanity, because we tend to agree on those things. It's when you get into policy that we disagree.
Right. And to that point, I find it interesting because something else you mentioned is to connect with people who have shared values or shared connections. Talk to me about that.
Yes, seek out people, not necessarily agree with you politically, but who agree with you with those deeper values. We have very complex problems in this country, and we have an aversion for ambiguity, an intolerance of ambiguity. So seek out people who like to talk about nuance, and then it's liable to be more about facts and less about personality.
And then you can also, what you say, empower yourself and write a journal, which I never really thought of, but I suppose that could be helpful.
Well, the journal should be of your anxious thoughts and what you will do amid that anxiety to make your life better. You should have contingency plans if the worst happens. If your candidate loses, what are you going to do to make your life better, make your experience better? Because a big part of anxiety is called perceived ability to cope. Something bad's going to happen and you won't be able to handle it. So if you don't think of how you will handle it, the anxiety is going to mount.
And one way to handle it, I know a lot of us do, myself included, is to exercise, do something physical for yourself so you can sort of get yourself out of the situation.
2 large studies have shown that walking 30 minutes a day is as effective as anti-anxiety agents with none of the side effects and lots of benefits. I do it myself, 30 minutes a day.
I love it. Well, Dr. Stosny, thank you so much for those election anxiety stress relievers. We appreciate it. And we want to check up with you after the election.
Okay, great. Thank you.